Were you surprised it's now the 49ers in Kansas City, what you saw 2 weeks ago in the AFC and NFC title game?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see the Ravens get away from the running game because that's I think was their biggest advantage, or hypothetically, but Todd Monken and the Ravens were just dialing up every drop back pass there. And I mean, the Chiefs pass defense is so good. Like, you were just, going right into the teeth of the defense there. So, I don't really think that was very optimal, and it showed in the final result. And on the other side, I was really impressed by what I saw from Brock Purdy back against the wall, down 17 at half. Able to pull it together and wind up winning the game there. Obviously, a couple of very lucky bounces their way, including the bomb that wound up Ayuk catching there nearly for a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end, though, I think the Niners are one of the best teams in the league. I think the Chiefs are, top 2-3 team as well. So I'm expecting a really good game.
So a lot of people were blaming Dan Campbell for the NFC Championship game loss, and you being kind of an analytic guy, a lot of the analytics say go for it, don't kick the field goals as much. What is your thoughts on both of the fourth downs and how much blame you think Campbell got?
Yeah, I think that he has to. I obviously believe in analytics, but at the same time, I think you have to understand and gauge your locker room. And so, if the players believe in it and the players believe that you should be going for it, which it seems like they did. Alex Anzalone came out and was like, "Hey, we supported Dan, we wanted to go for it on those downs." Then I think it's totally fine because the numbers mostly support it. And so, the team wants to go for it. So I think that's, not a bad decision. That being said, if I was in that decision, I probably would have kicked at least one of them. It's just and that's not even hindsight. That's probably just, me personally. But even as a numbers guy, mostly, I would have had a tough time going for both of them.
Let's get into, the Super Bowl 58. And there's a lot of questions going into this game. Obviously, Taylor Swift and everything that she, stands for with the Travis Kelce or the Swifties right now. But not only that, you're going into a game, there's a lot of questions, offensively, defensively. Kansas City lost a very big piece to their defense, their front seven. What are your thoughts going into this game? Do you think Steve Spagnuolo is going to run the same defense, now losing a big piece like that, going into one of the biggest games of the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, I think that's going to be my biggest question. I think that ultimately is what determines the game here, because this 49ers rushing offense is so good. Top 3 in basically every metric. And you saw them last week against the Lions. You saw it the week before against the Packers. Both of those secondaries were not good. And they still were you know what, we're going to run the ball how we do it and do it the way we want to do it. And so, a lot of 21 personnel, 22 personnel, it doesn't really matter. They're running the ball how they wanted to do it. And they weren't that successful. But against the Chiefs are bottom 5 in basically every run defense metric. But the counter argument to that is we've seen Steve Spagnuolo the last Super Bowl against the Eagles. The Eagles were a great rushing offense. He limited those running backs to just 45 yards on 17 carries in that Super Bowl, forced them into that one-dimensional pass-heavy game. And obviously, he wanted to be in a good game because Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown, with Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert was capable of kind of sustaining that, that offense there. I have questions about whether Brock Purdy and the 49ers can do that. But at the same time, I have much, much more confidence that the 49ers are able to run the ball here against the Chiefs because, people say oh, you can just load the box. You can just take away the run. The 49ers ran into the highest rate of stacked boxes in the league all season. We're looking at over 40% of the time they ran into stacked boxes, and we're still having success running the ball. So it's one of those things that it's a lot easier said than done because I don't see a clear path to do it. And again, I'm not, Steve Spagnuolo, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like it's a very clear-cut path to stopping this 49ers running game.
What do you think Kyle Shanahan needs to do to knock off Andy Reid in this game?
Yeah, I think he's got to stick to his game plan here, number one. And, we talked about it a little bit, but I think the most interesting matchup is going to be between Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, and Kyle Shanahan, kind of that offense versus defense matchup here. On the other side, I'm pretty confident that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to have pretty middling success, no matter what. I'm not expecting a massive day from them, but I also don't think that the Niners are going to be able to shut them down. Niners have been leaky run defense-wise. That whole, coaching matchup, there's only so much the coaching can take with a lot of these guys, whereas, the Niners just, their run defense hasn't been good enough, and their pass defense, their pass rushers get home. They got, dogs up front. They can definitely get home, but
they got what? 5 first rounders?
Yeah, they got guys. I mean, Chase Young's effort last week was pretty rough, but they can get home. And if you can blitz 4, drop 7, which is what they do the majority of the time, play a lot of zone. I mean, you can get to Mahomes. That's a big deal. We saw it against, a couple of years ago against the Bucs in the Super Bowl. They rushed 4, they dropped a bunch of guys, they got to Mahomes. Now he was banged up. They didn't have as good of a running game in that game. So there's some differences, but he has had flaws in the past if you can beat a guy like Mahomes.